This one's a mouthful. It's a tiny blue-winged olive dry woolly. This is an Ed Story fly. It imitates a adult midge dry fly, so it is tied on a dry fly hook. This is a number 22 hook. Since it's tiny, he ties them 18 to 22. I'm just kind of wondering if maybe smaller hooks were not really available when he was tying. I'm using a tan thread. He calls for a light olive or cream. The body on this fly will be 2 fibers from the tail of a pheasant, and the reversed dry hackle is dark dun. You could also use a light dun. So I will tie in the hackle, and it's might even be a little bit big hackle for a 22, but getting hackle that small, you really have to have a source where you can pick through the hackle and find small tiny hackles. And then the 2 fibers from the pheasant tail, I have clipped the tips off those fibers before I tie them in, because they do tend to break when I wrap. So clip the very tips off, and then I'm going to use the rotary function to do the wrap. So let's throw in a quick whip finish. A whip nod. It's really not a finish since I'm not finishing, but I just want to hold that in place. I like to use the rotary when I do wrap pheasant tail fibers for bodies, because I prefer to hang on to them with my fingers than with a clamp or a hackle pliers. And with a tiny hook like this, I find that it works better to wrap them in using the rotary. I've separated my fibers there, but I guess it'll be okay. Tie them in, or wrap them in, catch them in. Couple back wraps, and then I'm going to clip those out. I like to snap off fibers, but on a small hook like this, where I don't have a big thread holding them in, I find that it works better just to clip them out. And then I call this a reverse hackle from the story Wisdom. Reverse so that the fibers lean, or reverse palmer, so that the fibers are leaning towards the eye of the hook. And that's why I tie in the hackle with the shiny side towards the hook. That way when I wrap, I'm wrapping with the shiny side back towards the bend of the hook and the dull side towards the eye. That will cause the fibers to lean forward in what Ed Story says is the proper way to do a dry fly. And then I'm going to, again, I'd like to snap that out, but I find that when I snap it out, it tends to pull out from under the thread, and I don't want it to pull out from the thread. So clip it off, and then whip finish. This time it is a whip finish since I'm ending the fly. And I'm going to put some head cement on it, and the cement that I'm using is a diluted goop. Goop is a glue that comes in a tube. You can dilute it down to whatever consistency you want, and then a needle dipped in that bottle we'll just bring out a drop that I can place on the head, and you probably saw that it wicks across the whole body and locks that all in. A tiny blue-winged dry woolly.